Since even before the word alpha male became a thing, many men out there have been, let's just say, trying to play a role that doesn't fit them so well. Now, in this world that we live in, there are a lot of insecure men, and oftentimes these men behave in ways that they think are alpha, only to find out that they are not alpha at all. Now, it's good to know what a fake alpha is so you don't end up becoming one without even knowing it. Now, the fake alpha is similar to the bully in high school, or the guy who is always really loud, aggressive, and trying to be overly intimidating. But the biggest difference between a man who is viewed as a genuine alpha and a man who is simply viewed as a fake pertains to dominance. Always remember this: a man who is only pretending to be alpha is a type of man who will actively try to dominate and control other men while also trying to assert himself as the most dominant man in the room. But a genuine alpha is a type of guy who never tries to dominate other men, and yet at the same time, most people, including these other men, tend to view him as the most alpha or the most dominant man in the room. It's like when you look on YouTube and you see the guy who is posing in front of the Lambo in the big house, and when you look a little deeper, you find out that he's trying to sell you a get-rich-quick scheme. If you ever get the opportunity to meet somebody who is truly rich, you will find that they don't actively try to convince you that they are rich. The same concept applies to men who are actively trying to convince you that they have alpha qualities. It's like if you were to go outside and you see a rock. The rock doesn't have to convince you that it's a rock because it's obviously a rock. If you were to go outside and a tree was yelling at you saying, "Hey man, look at me, I'm a rock," after you're done questioning your sanity, you would probably wonder why the tree is so bent on trying to convince you that it's a rock when it's obviously not a rock. Unfortunately, the way that our society works is that in many cases, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, or the guy who yells the loudest is often the one who gets hurt. This is why the bully in high school is able to operate for many years without anybody ever challenging him, because in many situations, the bully is actually a large and rather intimidating person, and so he is able to get away with what he does. It's like the moment that you have to go out of your way to prove something to somebody, most likely you really aren't that something. The greatest difference between a real alpha and a fake one is that the real one spends his time actually living as an alpha or being an alpha, while the fake one actively spends the majority of his time trying to convince other people that he is one. This is the main difference between a real and a fake, and the sooner you understand this, the easier it will be to spot the difference within yourself. It's like if you're truly rich, you don't have to spend a single minute trying to convince people that you're rich. People will meet you and they will pretty quickly realize that you are most likely rich, without you ever having to actually say a word about how rich you are. Your typical fake alpha is kind of like the lion from the Wizard of Oz, always trying to act tough, always trying to convince others that he's the toughest guy in the room, when he is really the most fragile, the most scared, and the least alpha of the group. So don't be the guy who spends all of his time always trying to convince other people that he is alpha in the most obnoxious ways possible, and instead spend your time actually being alpha, or actually living alpha. And with that said, until next time, thanks for watching.